Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel. It's Monday morning, so that means it's time for our GT Sport Daily Race C strategy guide. And this week we are heading to Fuji International Speedway and we are in Group 3 machinery. So going on to Kudus Prime's website, here is the settings for this one. As I said, Group 3 machinery, we have 12 laps to negotiate, fuel consumption at times 2, tyre wear at times 8. And thankfully we have both the choice of racing medium and racing hard tyres, which would suggest we have a mandatory tyre in there. Now we can't tell at this point whether just the hard tyre will be mandatory or whether both the medium and the hard tyre will be mandatory. But we shall look at all the options as we move through the video. But before we do that, let's take a little bit of a look at the track we're going to be visiting. It's Fuji International Speedway in Japan, of course, and we are in the shadow of Mount Fuji, as you can see in the background of the panning shot there. Length of the track is 4.563 kilometres. We have a longest straight of 1.475 kilometres, which is just under a mile. 16 corners to get round, and with that long straight and the twisty third section, it's a fairly balanced circuit. So let's move on to take a look at some strategy for this one. So we are going to do 3 different strategies for this one and do some comparisons. And the car we've chosen to do those test runs in is the Dodge Viper Group 3 SRT. Now a few weeks back, Daily Race B was Group 3 at Fuji, and this was a car that was fairly strong for the combination. Now the car that sort of most people did pick was the Lamborghini Huracan, but of course Daily Race B has no tyre wear, and so my thoughts are that now that we've got some tyre wear in play, that the Lamborghini would quickly become quite a handful. And I didn't really fancy getting halfway through a run and spinning out, which is what the Lamborghini tends to like to do to you. So we picked a nice stable car in the Dodge Viper, which also would be fairly competitive for the combination. So let's get into the strategy runs in earnest. This is the first run we're looking at. It is the one stop, and we're going to start on the mediums and move on to the hard tyres. Now, as I said, we are going to run all these strategies as if the hard tyre is mandatory. Just bear that in mind as we work our way through them. So this, as I said, this is the one stop run, mediums to hard. Now you can see we've got the fuel on the screen there. Fuel is only at times 2, and then it will come as no surprise to you that fuel is of no concern whatsoever. So I think they could have probably had the fuel a little bit higher just to kind of maybe keep the tyres alive a little bit longer, but that's what they've gone for, so that's what we have to run with. So we're coming to the end of lap 3 here on the one stop run, and we're just going to jump all the way forward to lap number 6. Now the reason we've jumped forward to lap number 6 is that I did actually do a few practice runs before I kind of really got sort of stuck into recording a proper run, and this was the sort of lap that I found where the medium tyres and the hard tyres kind of crossed over, as in to say that the hard tyre, or I felt the hard tyre would be quicker at this stage in the race than my worn mediums. So we are going to pit at the end of this lap. We're coming into the last corner, the tricky third sector. I have to say I'm not a fan of that section of track whatsoever. It's a little bit more simple in the Group 3 cars than it is compared to Group 2, which is what we normally run at Fuji, but I don't really like it in any car. We're going to come into the pits here and we can take a little bit of a look at the pit loss. So the car's fairly quickly into the box, which would suggest that pit loss is going to be fairly short. Car stationary for 5.4 seconds, pit time comes in at 12.4, and that all comes in at about 6.4 seconds lost on the racetrack. So not a huge number, and that's the reason why we're going to take a look at the 2-stop strategy after this one to see how it compares. But let's get to the end of this first strategy that we're looking at. Now we did kind of getting a few of our laps not completely ruined by the AI cars, but maybe lost around about a second overall due to sort of overtaking them in fairly awkward places. If we take a look at the sort of hard tyre pace that we've had, we're in the sort of mid 39s compared to the mid 38s on our sort of fresh mediums, but you can see lap 5 there was a 39.3 on the medium tyres as they started to wear out, and we're kind of coming fairly close to those lap times on our fresh hards, and now sort of fairly worn hards as we move on to lap 12. So we're just going to jump all the way forward to the finishing straight, lap 12, and we can get a sort of look at the finishing time for the one-stop strategy. 6 laps on the mediums, 6 laps on the hard tyres. Bit of a tardy lap to finish with. I think that was the result of passing an AI car as well. But the finishing time comes up and it's 20 minutes 03.1. So 20 minutes 03.1 for the one-stop run. So as I said, that pit lane loss was not too bad. So I did sort of think that maybe the two-stopper could come into play. We could do a double stint on the mediums. So we'll pit at the end of lap 5 and get a bit of an undercut, if you imagine we're racing a one-stopper. So 5 laps in the mediums, we'll do 6 laps in the mediums for the second stint, and then just a single lap at the end on hard tyres. So obviously we're on the same tyre here as we were on the first run, so the lap times are fairly similar. So there's not a lot of time gained on this strategy at this point. But as I said, we're going to come in at the end of lap 5. You can imagine we can get a sort of fairly solid undercut on anyone we were racing around at this point. So we'd have to have a really good outlap and hopefully jump some one-stoppers at this point. That would be the idea behind this strategy anyway. Now and then, as we were on our second stint on the medium tyres, people who are doing the one-stop would be on the hard tyres, so we should have a pace advantage, and then it's all about what sort of gap we can open up over that second stint. So we're going to jump forward to a split screen section here. The main screen is the two-stop run and the insert screen is the one-stop run. So we can get an idea as the sort of two-stop run that we're sort of focusing on comes into the pits, and we can see if it gets out in front of the one-stop run, which is in the top right hand corner. Now as you can probably tell from this point, I don't think we've got the necessary 6.3 to 6.4 seconds that we need to make a pit stop and come out in front. But let's see just how close we can get. So into the pits we come. Obviously going to change onto the hard tyre here. It is lap 11. And we're just going to do that single lap on the hard tyre. Out the pits we come. We've been overtaken by the one stop in the top right hand corner. It's already into the apex of turn 1. And that's us coming into the apex now. So we're probably about 2 seconds behind. So whilst the medium tyres are obviously quicker than the hard tyres, the delta between them is nowhere near as much as I thought it might be. In fact, I think it's coming in at just under a second, or around about that 1 second mark between the mediums and the hard tyres, and they're at a sort of similar kind of fuel load. So the two-stopper comes over the line there, and it's a 20 minutes 05.5. So it does come in at just over, what's that, 2.4 seconds slower than the one-stop run. So let's move on to take a look at the third strategy. Now I'm not entirely sure whether this one will be possible. As I said, at this point we don't know what the sort of tyre requirement is going to come in at. When they first started doing sort of mandatory tyres, it was just the hard tyre that was required, but then in more recent races it's been both the medium and the hard tyre that is mandatory. So this strategy will obviously only be possible if it is just the hard tyre that's mandatory. So for this strategy we're just going to start in the hard tyres and we're going to no stop it all the way to the end. So the hard tyres actually hold up fairly well. Even though they look fairly worn, I'll still be able to get some fairly competitive lap times and keep it in the sort of 1 minute 39s up till lap 8. Then we just start to drop into the 1 minute 40s, and this last lap was a bit of a bit compromised by that Jaguar that we've seen us overtaken into just after the chicane. But the no stop run coming in at 20 minutes 06.8, which was actually a little bit more competitive than I thought it would be. And it was obviously the slowest of the 3 runs we've done, but as I said, it comes in a little bit closer than I thought it would be, and maybe it could actually be a strategy that could work depending on how the race circumstances work out. So we're going to move on to taking a look at a sort of racing lap here at Fuji. So coming into turn 1, braking just after the 150 metre marker, braking in a straight line for as long as possible, down into second gear in the Viper, and then getting on the power as early as possible for this short straight. So I'm looking out for the 100 metre marker here. Think about my braking. This is probably one of the most critical corners on the track. Don't run wide on the exit, but the you can make up a lot of time in that corner depending on sort of how much speed you can carry into it. So we're into 100R here, braking just at the orange marker on the left hander. I always feel you've got to brake a little bit early for that corner, and just to try and carry as much speed into the apex as possible, rather than trying to brake too late for it. Into another short straight, come towards the end of sector 2 here, and we're going to come into the twisty first sector, braking just before the Dunlop sign. Again, braking the straight line as much as possible. Again, I actually brake a little bit earlier than most, because I'm trying to get the car into the corner or into the chicane as tightly as possible. And then we're into these kind of rolling sort of second, third gear corners that sort of seem to go on forever. It's very easy to sort of go offline, get some marbles in your tyres and run wide. Now there is obviously there's several different lines and techniques for doing these corners as well, so that can also cause a few problems. Sort of different drivers are taking different lines, and it's very easy for people to sort of dive you if you sort of try and take a wide arc. So obviously you're going to have to look out for that as well. But over the start finish line we come, and that is a racing lap of Fuji. So to finish the video, we'll just do a quick recap on the sort of 3 strategies we looked at, why I think each one could actually be possible to sort of use depending on how the strategy or the race is working out for you, and obviously what one I think is better. So first up, we looked at the one stop. We did 6 laps in the medium, 6 lap on the hard tyres. This is obviously the quickest strategy out of the 3 that we run, so that's clearly an advantage for that one. I found that sort of the sweet spot between the mediums and the hard tyre in the car that I chose to test in was lap 6, that's why I did the split down the middle. I think some cars will be able to go to sort of lap 6 on the mediums. Obviously you can do the reverse of that as well, if you're towards the back of the grid. Start on hard tyres, maybe do 5 laps and then 7 laps on the mediums. You should have burnt a little bit of fuel off by the time you change onto the mediums, so you can get a slightly longer stint out of them. But the one stop is the quickest out of the 3 strategies that we looked at. Moving on to the 2 stop strategy. Now this is the reason I think this may be usable, is if you're trying to get some kind of undercut. You could be in a sort of pack of cars where you're squabbling with them and clearly not lapping as fast as you possibly could, or at your potential pace if you like. So you pit lap 5, maybe even lap 4, do a double stint on the mediums, get the undercut on the sort of direct cars around you, and then hopefully you can use your potential pace on that second stint before changing to the hard tyres at the end. It's coming in at 2.4 seconds slower than the one stop run, so clearly not the quickest way to go about the race, but quite often strategy is about circumstance of the race as well. So I can see reasons why you maybe sort of look at the 2 stop. And the non-stop coming in at 3.7 seconds slower than the one stop. Again, just depending on how the circumstance of the race is going, I could see this being something you might want to try. I think it'll be very rare for people to do this strategy. Starting at the back, you're just going to maybe sort of try and make up positions. It could be a workable strategy, but the one stop will dominate this one, I think. There will be variations of it as the sort of week progresses. You'll see people doing sort of different things, maybe even doing 8 laps in the mediums and just 4 laps on the hard tyres, but it will be the strategy to go for is the one stop. And as I said, depending on the circumstance of your races or your sort of qualifying position is going to sort of dictate how you work that strategy. But that's my thoughts for this race coming up. I think it will be a good one. I'm quite excited for this one myself. I think there will be sort of lots of different ways of doing the race, which always makes things slightly more interesting. It'll clearly be quite a popular race. Group 3 is always very popular. So hopefully I'll see some of you out the track. I have seen some of you in the last week's race, sort of saying hello in the in-game chat, so that was pretty cool. But thank you very much for watching. Please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button if you already haven't. And until the next video, good luck and goodbye.